Hello, and welcome to another Racing with Destiny episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel. I am one of your hosts. I have lost over 120 pounds and kept it off for over 6 years.
Wow.
I'm a Tiny Habits certified coach, a Thrive Global certified coach, and my co-racer with Destiny today is
Donald Weigel, and I have lost about 100 pounds. I've kept it off also for 6 years. Boy, we're sort of coming up on 7.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Matt, yeah. A long time.
We're getting there. And we're here to talk about it. This is We Only Look Thin.
It is We Only Look Thin. And I am going to start today with a Name That Tune for Donald Weigel.
Oh, boy.
Name
Okay.
That Tune was a show back in the 1900s
Yeah.
where people would get like one note of a
I
song.
can name that tune in 47 notes. Go.
So it would be like, I can, like, whatever song it is in 3 notes, like, burr, burr, burr.
Right.
Like, you'd be like, oh, that's from Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh,
like,
that was good,
see?
yeah.
Like, and you'd be like, oh, I know what that is. That's fine. But then the other person would be like, I could name it in 1 note. And all you would get was, burr. And then be like, oh, I know that song.
Yeah.
So I'm going to test Donald's knowledge
Oh, boy.
of songs.
This is going to be embarrassing.
You've already received a hint. It's not notes, but it's just words, and it's germane, very germane, if you think about it,
Yeah.
to this episode. So I'm going to get started.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about it.
Okay. Hold on a second. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. This sounds like something that would be in your high school poetry annual. Did you have one of those high school poetry annual things where like people put in their poetries and literature mag or whatever?
It was like a zine.
Okay.
It was like,
Okay. So, and listeners, this is for you too. First caller wins. Here we go. Okay. Each day I live, I want to be a day to give the best of me. I'm only one, but not alone. My finest day is yet unknown. I broke my heart, fought every gain. To taste the sweet, I face the pain. I rise and fall, yet through it all, this much remains. Any?
Oh my God!
Any guess?
It's like I'm gonna feel so foolish.
It's Olympic focused.
I'm gonna sound.
She married
so
Bobby
foolish when
Brown. It didn't go well that she married Bobby Brown.
Who married Bobby Brown? I don't even remember.
Do you believe the children are our future? That's not the song.
Oh, that's a Whitney Houston song.
Okay, but it has to do with the Olympics. There's a big famous Olympic song.
Winning the gold, it's called.
I want one moment in time.
That's about the Olympics?
When I'm more than... It was made for the Olympics.
I mean, you're asking the most
Oh my
Whitney
gosh.
Houston illiterate person that you'll ever meet.
It is I got one moment in time. The only anthem that you know is I've been waiting all week for Sunday night by Carrie... What's her name for football?
Because it has to do with NFL
Because it has to do with football.
That's right.
Whitney Houston, One Moment in Time, was the glory song of the Olympics. You got one moment to shine.
Yeah. Everyone knows that. I'm just pretending
everybody,
I didn't know.
literally everybody knows that.
I know the only Whitney Houston song I know is the I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Okay. Well, that was not... maybe that would have worked for the breakdancing.
And that song from The Bodyguard, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I don't even remember what that was called.
I Will Always Love You.
Okay.
Okay. I will always love you. I will,
Good.
despite not
That's
knowing
good.
that about the Olympics. You basically don't know anything
I don't know anything
Olympics.
about the Olympics.
I don't think that there is an Olympic song right now.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
think
I just
that there's
know
an
that
anthem.
for some reason Snoop Dogg has become
the darling
Olympic mascot or something.
Olympic darling.
He's everywhere. He was watching an event with Simone Biles in the stands, and she said it was the first Olympic event she had ever watched. On all, she's been to 4 Olympics or something.
Wow.
And it's the first event she'd actually ever watched. I mean, obviously she's watched events that she was in.
No, but when you're in something, you don't necessarily
spectator.
do the thing.
Yeah.
So speaking...
I know lots about the Olympics. I know Simone Biles watched something with Snoop Dogg. I know that there's a 51-year-old guy who shoots an air pistol and is a sensation. And then there's a USA female rugby player who
She's great.
has taken over the world.
Also, can we talk about Mr. Flavor Flav?
Sure.
He's amazing and wonderful. He actually sponsored the women's water polo team.
That's pretty amazing. I think it's fairly sometimes easy to make fun of Flavor Flav because he wears giant clocks around his neck and things like that. But that's really something.
Like that is and he actually made a statement like more rich people should sponsor Olympians who have multiple jobs. Like, and he actually literally sponsored them to fly because a lot of them had multiple jobs, couldn't afford to get to the Olympics to showboat in front of all you spectators. And so Flavor Flav stepped up. So hooray for Flavor Flav. Well, but that actually has something to do with the one moment in time that we are talking about.
Oh, I see what you're getting
which
at.
Is...
Yeah, all of this was just sprung on me, by the way. I didn't know any of this was going to be discussed.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know those lyrics to One Moment in Time either. That's all I knew. I know, anyway, Whitney Houston, she married Bobby Brown very famously.
Yeah.
It was a bad move for her.
Sure, that was famous. Everyone knew it.
It was. Okay, well, we can talk about Whitney Houston later. Okay, but what this has to do with the Olympics is many of us in the weight loss world, you're like, Catherine and Donald, W the heck. What are you talking about now? We are talking about that one moment in time. That one moment in time when you have that dream or that reality of hitting your goal weight. Right? Like we have this idea of what it's going to be like. We're going to be on the podium. There's going to be cheering crowds, ticker tape, and then everything will change after that. You'll be on a box of Wheaties and other various cereals as an Olympian, as a champion. And then what I'm assuming, like what I would do with my Barbie dolls, right? Like, and I'm tying this back to the Olympics, is like Olympians, my understanding is that when they're done Olympiaing, they are put back in their box for 4 years. They're not real humans. Right. They are superhumans. They go into cryogenic sleep.
Yeah, it's like a sci-fi film. Like you discover the basement and there's just Olympians cryo storage. Yeah.
And then for our entertainment, they are released back into the wild. And to Olymp. Olymp is
No, it's not horrifying at all when you really think about it.
We see them as these others, right? They are Olympians, they Olymp, and then they get back in their boxes for 4 years, and then they come back out and they Olymp again.
Right.
And I would like to make an analogy about how we sort of imagine that getting to our goal weight is like going to the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
We're at the very end of the Olympics right now. By the time you're listening to this, I think the closing ceremonies will have already happened.
Yeah, I think it'll technically be over by the time we post this podcast.
But as we're closing out the Olympics, and as you are imagining like all the pomp and circumstance, we got to wait another 4 years. Think about what it takes to be an Olympian and what it takes to get to your goal weight. And instead of imagining that you just are just done and the credits roll and Whitney Houston stops singing at you, that there's a life beyond the Olympics.
Yeah.
And there's life beyond your goal weight.
Well, and I don't want to jump too far ahead here, but I think that what Catherine is alluding to is that we oftentimes think about hitting a goal weight as just putting in a certain amount of effort until we hit the goal weight, and then we can stop putting in any effort. And I did that. I did that literally multiple times, and I lost over 50 pounds at least 2 times before I did it this most recent
You got
time.
to the big show many times.
And then I would get to that weight and then just think, well, I'm here. Now I can just stop doing the work that got me there. And guess what? The weight came all back on, and usually more on top of it.
That is a really good point. We have gone to the Olympics many times and been either we've placed, we've represented our countries, and then we've come back home and been defeated by our own habits, because you don't just Olymp and then walk away.
Yeah, and part of the problem, this isn't 100% germane, was that I tended to do these these very restrictive diets where I would cut out entire groups of foods, or I would, really white knuckle it. And I was, having meal replacement shakes and things like that, like protein shakes instead of meals, and drinking my food. And then I just wanted to go back to eating and drinking like a normal person. And I hadn't trained to do that. And so the weight came all back on. Well,
and I think when people train for specific events, Cassie Ho, the owner and superstar behind Blogilates, she said she actually trained for a bodybuilding competition, like where they strut around covered in some vegetable-based oil.
Yeah, and apparently you like have to dehydrate yourself for those things.
Well, but you want to be as like dehydrated and like bony as possible. But training for that is a specific kind of training that is never meant to last. It is meant to be a finite amount of time. You put in this crazy amount of effort, and then you just go back to being a normal human. It's not expected to be permanent. But a lot of times we exact this insane pressure on ourselves to hit a goal weight. And then we have no idea, again, how to keep it going, how to sustain it, and what to do after we hit it in a sustainable way. And for us, I'm going to make the analogy. I know I'm usually like, oh gosh, they're making an analogy. I didn't even realize it, but we're just telling you we're making an analogy this time about sort of the life cycle of an Olympian, what it takes to be an Olympian, the good and the bad. There's bad stuff about being an Olympian, everybody. And then sort of like what happens afterward. Like the Olympics are over, so then what do you do? So I'm going to start out by telling you everything I know with very little research about what it takes to be an Olympian.
Right. This is what I imagine being an Olympian would be.
Okay, but I actually did a little bit of research. And this, again, this ties together, is Olympians start training as preteens. Like, if you are going to be in the Olympics, I know that there are some outliers. There was a woman who started cycling a year ago and is in the Olympics, and that's great. She's an outlier.
Well, and that air pistol guy has made me think that I could train and become like a 60-year-old air pistol guy at the next Olympics.
But he's been an Olympian. He's been in the Olympics before.
No, he just started.
He did?
No.
No, that was very convincing. Okay,
I made that up.
So as a preteens train for approximately 250 hours over the course of 6 months.
Wow.
To okay, I'm in this. I really care about it. The parents are invested in it. By the time they are, 13, an actual teenager, they're training 600 hours over the course of about 9 months. And by the time they're teenagers, well into it, it's about 1,100 hours over 11 months. And at that point, it's a 27-week full-time job, basically. This is their life. They eat, sleep, and breathe it.
Yeah, and at that age, I was dreaming that I could lose weight, but I wasn't actually putting in any hours of learning how to do that.
You were building up your weight so that you could lose more to be more inspiring.
I was just eating food at that point.
If we only lost 1 pound and started the podcast, it wouldn't have been that inspiring. So we had to gain the weight before we could lose it.
Yeah, but that's a really great point.
It is a full-time job, and they start thinking about what it takes to be an Olympian from that point. And on the weight loss side of things, I started dreaming about a goal weight from the very first time I got made fun of, or the very first time that my pants didn't fit, or my parents told me I needed to shop in the husky section. We are dreaming about our goal weights for so long.
I don't think they still have husky sections, thankfully.
They don't call it husky anymore, but it was pretty upsetting.
No, that was bad.
It was really upsetting.
That was bad for the psyche, for sure.
For sure. But as a kid, the first time you notice that you're not the weight that normal people are, or you're struggling, you're immediately dreaming of that one moment in time when you hit your goal weight, and then suddenly everything's going to be okay. All of your troubles are behind you. Suddenly you've got this pass. I remember one year in elementary school, a girl that I was friends with went away for the summer and came back, and she went from kind of looking like me to being pretty fit. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? What did you do? And she's like, well, all summer we just went hiking and walked around and ate well. And I was like, no, that's not what I ate. That's like, isn't there some sort of sugar smack cereal?
I want you to tell me the one weird trick that you did you eat like endless bowls of sugar smacks. And the weight comes off.
And that's what I wanted to happen. But it was almost like, oh, well, she's already achieved it. So I guess it's too late for me. There can only be one moment in time. And she already did it. But like, Olympians train again from being a preteen. It's a full-time job. They get coaches to improve their form. They train. They've got diet and mindset planning. There's teamwork. Maybe you join teams. You go to regional competitions, qualifiers. There's all this sacrifice, right? Nobody sees a video of Simone Biles just going like, oh, well, I don't know. I just kind of stretched a little bit and like kind of like did dance into the oldies. And now I'm here. I don't even know what happened.
Into the oldies.
And look, Olympians, there is actually scientific evidence that Olympians, there are certain body types that are great for certain kinds of competitions.
Yeah.
If you have certain like body structures, it turns out, fun fact, marathon runners, compact, short marathon runners actually do better than super tall and lanky because there's like...
Seriously?
Yeah, anyway.
That's weird. When I see marathon runners, like the people who do it in like 2 hours, it always seems like they're tall.
Well, anyway, there are different body types. There's different muscles that need to be required. Right. So I have the certain kind of body type that loves food.
Yeah.
And I gain weight super quickly. And sure, it's genetics or whatever, but I had led into that, or I leaned into that for years.
Maybe we should have become competitive eaters instead.
This is just who I am. But there's all of this sacrifice that comes with being an Olympian. And once we decide to lose weight, and I felt like this when I was 41, when I started this weight loss journey venture, I was driven to lose weight. Suddenly, I can't say I had a lightning bolt moment, but it was like, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it is now time for me to step up and get it done and do it differently, right? So for 18 months, I basically trained like an Olympian. I mean, quite honestly, I was at my deficit, I think all but maybe 3 weekends that entire year. Like specifically, I was at a deficit. I went really hard. I had desire and focus and drive. We started walking consistently. We cut out alcohol. Donald had been diagnosed with diabetes. We're on a mission to get this done.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we sacrificed going out with friends. We sacrificed, drinking. And it felt like it was just coming off really easily. Consistently 1 pound a week over time, we got it done. And that's the kind of dedication and consistency that Olympians have to show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I think too, a lot of that sacrifice and that drive, it comes with a lot of self-doubt as well. And that's why I started working on mindset as a really important part of that, of understanding I need boundaries and I need, to sort of change my mindset and have a growth mindset. And Olympians do have that. So then you get to the big game, right? Like I'm very close to my weight loss goal. You were close to your weight loss goal. It's like going to the Olympics. You've been training for this. You're getting it done. And it's exciting, right? But the Olympics, unlike us, when you go to the Olympics, there's fellowship and there's competition and there's the world is at your stage and everyone is cheering you on and there's a big opening ceremony. Everyone's dancing around, getting stuff done. You're the best of the best. You've got respect and admiration and cheering crowds. But unlike that, with normal people, we don't necessarily have thousands of people cheering us on and the support of a nation and coaches and teamwork. We're trying to get this done and do it on our own. Maybe you're part of a support group. That was a really big part for me, but you don't have everyone, the world isn't your stage for this time. You're just kind of quietly trying to get it done. Maybe people are noticing you're losing weight and that feels really good, but you're still trying to grind to get to that one moment where everything is magical and you hit your goal weight.
Yeah. And also, I don't know that this is exactly analogous to Olympians, but when I hit my goal weight, when I first got close and when I first hit it, people talked about it a lot to me.
Yeah.
And it felt really great. And then after a while, it was just kind of, this is just the weight I am. And it didn't become special or interesting to people anymore.
Yeah.
And so that all those like accolades of getting there, went away. And it's a little bit of a hard adjustment. Like you almost want, there's almost this weird temptation to like gain weight again and lose it so that people will notice.
Well, and you have changed jobs a couple of times since you lost weight. So there are people who don't even know that you ever were heavier than you are now. And it's not like you like carry around like wallet photos that fall out and like, oh, oops, I dropped the picture of me from 100 pounds ago. Oops. Like, oh, Donald, I had no idea. Like you're just a guy.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but it has to become about something other than the gold medal at a certain point. Like continuing to put in the work, so to speak, continuing to maintain the habits that keep my weight where it is, has to be about more than just that gold medal and the accolades. It has to be about, in my case, about continuing to be able to move and enjoy my life in a certain way, moving into my older age.
Right. So when you're at the Olympics, like you said, there's all this competition and fellowship and like glory and people singing at you and stuff like that, which is fine. Like it's all good stuff. But there are also some bad things about being an Olympian, Donald. Did you have any idea that there were bad things about it?
Yeah, I think I probably did.
All right. I was trying to be funny.
Oh, so sorry. First of all, doing all that work to get there seems like a lot.
Right. So like you're making it happen. This has been your lifelong dream. It's amazing. And that's great. But the one hard part for me with the Olympics, and I guess we also face this when we're losing weight, is the judgment. Like literally you are going to Paris to be judged by other people on your performance. And some performances are, okay, you run faster than everybody and you definitely win. But a lot of it, the diving and gymnastics, is opinion. Like, oh, her toe was out of the way. Like, oh, that's not a great look.
Yeah,
like, oh, she blew it for her nation.
Oh,
like,
yeah, she did. She wobbled a little bit on that landing. Yeah.
Well, and I remember in the 1980s watching the Olympics and like, I don't know if it was Nadia Comaneci or somebody, but like she fell and I felt like her coach was like yelling at her for like doing a bad job and people were crying.
People weren't
and like
nurturing and supportive back in the 80s. They just yelled at each other. They yelled at children mostly.
Right. But we face that in weight loss too. Like, oh, you're just counting calories. You're not counting macros. Oh, you're doing Weight Watchers. You're not, intermittent fasting. Everybody's got an opinion about how you're supposed to do it right. And even after losing 100 pounds, people were still saying, like, well, you got to cut your carbos. That was just an elderly neighbor, but it was fine. But like everybody's got an opinion about what the right thing to do. I was actually talking to a Wolt member last night who said that she like lost weight. And then people were like, you're too thin. It's too much weight.
Oh my God, I hate that.
Oh, you got to stop it. And it's like Goldilocks. Like, okay, it's too right, too wrong, too much, too little. Like having all of these external opinions about the exact, specific, perfect, right way to do anything is really challenging. And Olympians have to face and be able to take that criticism and that feedback, like throughout their training. Not everybody comes home with a gold, silver, or a bronze. Like you're just showing up and being okay with the fact that you're not the best of the best, but you did the best that you could.
Well, and two quick things. Olympians also have to battle against their own expectations. Yeah. And I think we, as people who are just trying to lose and maintain weight, have to battle against our own expectations. I don't even remember how I started following her. It just came up in the feed. I follow this pole vaulter named Molly Caldry, who earlier this year, she won the world championships of pole vault. And then she got to the Olympics. She was heavily favored to be a medalist, and she couldn't even get past the qualifying round and was just like, I've let everyone down and I've crushed everything and I've like ruined everything. And I think that we have to be very careful about battling against our own expectations. It's like sometimes I would have these fantastic weeks, where I was hitting my step goal every day and I was hitting my calorie goal, and then I would step on the scale and it would be the same, or I would be up a little bit. And we have to, look at those moments and really push through and keep going. And it was, knowing that if you keep going, that that eventually the weight does come off, I think is an important lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And then another quick thing, you showed me a tweet recently that like the vast majority of the people who go to the Olympics have the same number of gold medals as you and I do.
Right. Well,
which is none.
Some countries had, I want to say there were like 500 or 600 U.S. competitors, not they didn't come home with 500 gold medals. There are people there who are just like doing the best that they can and still holding their head up high. And having that, like, going and knowing that you're not necessarily going to be the influencer of the world based on your weight loss, like you're doing it for yourself, not necessarily for the gold, is really important. So the pros of not being an Olympian is that you're not, like, the fate of your nation does not depend on your weight loss goal, right? Like there's not that pressure on you. You're not being judged by the world on every single move, though sometimes it feels like you are. And I think that, like, the best part about not being an Olympian is that it's not this one moment in time where you are like, today you have to hit your goal weight. Like, this is your birthday. This is your reunion. This is the one moment in time where you need to absolutely shine. Like, we have our lifetimes to manage our health, but it's not like you didn't hit your goal weight today, so you've got to wait 4 years to even be considered again to do it again. Like, we're not on this pedestal where we have to perform perfectly and give it our full-time effort.
Yeah, and that's part of the good news of this. You, as a regular person who is just trying to, get healthier or maintain a weight or to hit a goal weight, you have just you to compete against.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's not, you don't have this one moment. You just have to show up and be consistent over time, and eventually the results will come.
Right. But I think a lot of people, and I saw this luckily with myself, I kind of knew hitting that goal in the past wasn't enough. There had to be something after the goal. And before, like Donald said, I would hit my goal and then just go back to old habits. And then I would be very confused as to why my metabolism wasn't fixed and everything was perfect. But as the Olympics are ending, and this is something like the dark side of the Olympics. That's right. We're going to take you to the dark, seedy underbelly.
Yeah.
Is that, like, you are in this heightened state of excitement when you hit your goal weight, or when you're just about there, or when you're in your BMI, or those pants fit again. You're just like, oh my gosh, I actually did it. I have been waiting since, literally since I was a preteen, when kids would make fun of me, to hit my goal weight. And when we hit that number, there's this moment where you're just like, I did it. It's amazing. Like, fantastic. Wow. I'm on the podium. I got the gold. Everyone is cheering for me. And it's this, this moment where you feel like you've really hit your, like, this dream for your lifetime. And as the Olympics are ending, there are plane loads of Olympians coming home to ticker tape and parades and excitement, but those parades stop. Right? Like, everybody, we're all like watching the Olympics for 2 weeks. It's great. But then we go back to our normal lives. We're going back to reality television, whatever we were doing before. And life goes back to normal, right? You hit your goal weight. Everybody's excited for you. But like Donald said, then suddenly you're just like the person who weighs the weight that you are. And if you keep waiting for those like accolades to come every single day, that's not going to happen. And Olympians have to deal with this too, of like, now that I'm home, what does my life look like? What am I going to do? Am I going to sit quietly in a cryogenic chamber that Catherine imagines for 4 years from now, when I go back to the Olympics to try for another gold? What does my life look like after I hit my goal weight or I get the Olympic gold?
Well, and I think if you're somebody who's saying to yourself, I am so far away from hitting a goal weight, why does this matter to me? Well, I think it harkens back. I don't know who talks like that. I think it calls back to what I was talking about earlier, where I would go on these really restrictive diets to lose a bunch of weight, and I wouldn't think about and I wouldn't plan for what was going to come next. And I really wish that somebody had taught me sooner to really think about maintenance and think about, even from the beginning, even when you're, in air quotes, just starting, to think about, okay, is what I'm doing now something that I can continue to do once I hit my goal weight?
Right.
And that doesn't mean you have to marry like one particular set of skills or habits. But what that means is, are you doing something that when you hit a goal weight, you would still be able to keep doing? And I think keeping that in mind as I was kind of developing a plan, developing my lifestyle really, was really important for not only just hitting the goal weight, but then being able to maintain it now, 6+ years later.
Right. So Olympians also deal with this. I saw way too many articles to even mention here about Olympians that come home, even people who win the gold, who suddenly have a lack of purpose or don't or second guess, well, maybe I wasn't even good enough to do that. Maybe my goal weight wasn't enough. Maybe I need to lose 5 more pounds or 10 more pounds. And you keep kind of chasing that feeling again, right? We've talked about the hedonic treadmill, where you are super excited about getting something and then it just sort of becomes normal and then you don't feel as excited. We've said this before too. What if you won the spelling bee in 4th grade and you were super excited? If me at age 50 was still hearkening on the glory days of winning the spelling bee in 4th grade, if I had that same thing, you'd be like, you have some trouble. You need to manage whatever is happening right now, living for that glory day from 40 years ago.
Well, and I know it's a really old movie at this point, but I know we did an episode about Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, who was just, I think in the movie he's probably about 40 and he's just still trying to relive his high school glory days.
That one football catch or whatever. Yeah.
And buys a fake time machine, which ends up just shocking him with electricity, in the effort to try and go back rather than trying to move forward and live his life as it is now.
Right. So I did find a few articles about how Olympians sort of maintain their mental health and their social and physical health after the games. And I think, as you're, like Donald mentioned, starting with maintenance in mind wherever you are in this, of not putting all of your hopes and dreams on the weight, but rather the lifestyle you're going to maintain afterward. So there were a lot of articles, like I said, about, sort of how to get past the Olympic gold. And a lot of them talked about finding purpose outside of the Olympics. There are lots of articles about yes, I won this race, but also guess what? I am an advocate for people, underprivileged people in Austin, Texas. I do volunteer work. I'm studying to be a lawyer, all of these different things. This is part of Olympians' lives, not the sole purpose. And when our only identity is weight loss and we don't have anything outside of that, there can be a really big feeling of loss after that. And we have talked so much about investing in our lives. I haven't been bored for 30 years, 40 years or something.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember the last time I was bored. I mean, maybe in a work meeting, while the meeting was happening, but not actually bored in life.
But having purposes outside of your number is huge. And the same is true with Olympians. They go back to coach, they go back to volunteer, they give back to communities, they have other jobs, they go on to get other certifications and careers. And knowing that your skill set of weight loss, whether that's determination, drive, consistency, showing up every day, good day or bad, those skills are transferable to other areas and interests in your life. So really exploring what kinds of things do you enjoy. If you enjoy teamwork, then join a team, join a local club or association. If you like competition, that's finding other things to compete with, leveling up your skill sets, whether that's when we were losing weight, we lost weight, but I wasn't into strength training at all or swimming, and finding other ways to supplement my health. And Olympians do that. They join other clubs and associations and groups because that fellowship is important to them beyond the Olympics. And another one is, again, setting other goals and priorities. we are not just that number on the scale. Maintaining that number on the scale is its own skill set, but having other things in life that we want to focus on is more important than just that one number. And like Donald said, kind of, rounding this out, is living in the past and waiting for that one thrill, that way to get that electric shock of excitement is really dangerous if we're living for that moment, because we can fall into depression once we get the thing we've said we've wanted forever, whether it's graduating from college or getting that degree that we wanted, or, a lot of people are like, oh, well, once I get married, then I'll be happy. Once I get the job, then I'll be happy. Once I get the house, then I'll be happy. It's not the thing that makes us happy. It is the process of investing in ourselves, challenging ourselves, building up our resilience, challenging our mindset, learning new skills. All of these things keep us in the mindset of a person who cares about their health. The wait is one moment in time, and it is proof, it is culmination of all of the efforts that we put in, and it should be celebrated. But finding sustainable ways outside of that number to feel pride in yourself is what keeps us going. For me and for Donald, part of that was, now that I have done something that I have cared about for so many years, I want to help inspire other people toward that path, to let them know that it is possible for them. I have gone through the worst of the worst and the elation and excitement of hitting my goal, and now trying to maintain that and sustain the habits. So for you, as you are finishing up the Olympics, must be nicing everyone for all the calories that they can eat. We were watching the cycling race. People are giving them food while they're racing.
I know, they hand them food during the event.
They gotta keep
I want
eating.
a job where people just hand me food during the
They
event.
basically have to eat the equivalent of 2 bowls of rice every hour just to keep going.
Yeah.
If only people were giving me food for just doing my job. Where's my Olympic medal?
I know. I could eat that many carbs in my sleep, though.
Well, I was like, okay, so that's what I get.
Right.
That's one of the job perks of being a cyclist who can ride 100 miles in a day. Must be nice to be them.
Yeah.
But going outside of that Olympic moment, that one moment in time, and realizing that we are focused on our identities. We care about our mental health, our physical health, and setting goals for our future. Our best days, and Donald has been, the clock has ticked over to my 50th birthday, and I have been, woe is me a little bit about it. Donald says, best days are yet to come.
Absolutely.
Like, they're ahead of us. They are not behind us. What is the next challenge? What is the next goal? How can we keep up that energy and enthusiasm? Because if I was just like, all right, well, best moment of my life is over, might as well just get in the box and sell my body to science, like they would take it. But if we think that our best moments are in the past, that's not super inspiring. We have to cultivate and manifest our future, whether that is at the Winter Games, the Olympic Games in 4 years hence in Los Angeles, America, California.
I know.
Welcome to us. But what is next for you? What can you, and if you are still in your weight loss journey venture, what other ways can you branch out to diversify and increase your impact in your own life? Not just focused on that one number, but cultivating a richer life for yourself. If Whitney Houston can do it, if Donald Weigel can do it, if Simone Biles can do it, and if Flavor Flav can do it, look at him, he's rapping, suddenly he's supporting the Olympics. That's pretty super rad. If they can do it, we know that you can do it too.
Yes, indeed. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for keeping up your energy and enthusiasm and support for this show. And we believe that you can do even more by listening to other episodes of this show. Our show is available wherever you find podcasts. We're on all the major podcast platforms, the most recent 300 episodes. And if you care to go back and listen to the very first episodes, you can do that on YouTube. Or you can find us anytime on our website at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep, and if you are at weonlylookthin.com, click on that link for join our support group. We Only Look Thin Place, Walt Place, We Only Look Thin Place. That's what it's called. Walt
So
Place
well said,
is a
too.
Facebook-based accountability group for women. It is not a place for a specific plan, but it is a place for support and accountability, no matter the plan you follow. We were just talking about Olympians finding their fellowship and community, and it is important for them, and it is important. It has been really important on my weight loss journey as well. So please join us there. We've got 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Walt Place is right for you. We do Zoom meetings, check-ins, accountability. It's a way to stay present when you're feeling like you need cheerleaders on your weight loss venture. I am active in the group. I'm here to cheer you on and share my own ups and downs and struggles throughout the process. So check us out.
Yeah, you get some of that, camaraderie and cheerleading that we talked about at the Olympics in Walt Place. So check it out.
You sure do.
Also, you can check us out on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram at We Only Look Thin. Or you could send us an email if you would like to interact with us that way. Our email address is weonlylookthin@gmail.com. We would enjoy getting episode suggestions. If you can think of ways that in which losing weight is like being an Olympian, we'd love to hear some of those from you. If you have questions, we'll do our best to answer. And once again, that is weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep. And if you have a couple of extra minutes, please leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcast. We so appreciate it. Not only does it let us know that what we're doing after all these years is making a difference in your life, but it also helps new people find our podcast as well. On Facebook the other day, a lovely listener said at some point she is going to leave us a rating and a review. She hasn't done it yet. And I told her I looked forward to it whenever it does happen.
Absolutely.
I know you're out there. I know you are thinking about it. Just a couple of words, one moment in time. Leave us a rating or review. We would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and look, the best way you can support the show is by joining Walt Place, which you also will get a lot out of. But the second best way you can support this show is to leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. That really does help us out. Also, if you could just give us a shout out, word of mouth is another great way that really helps the show grow. If you're talking to somebody and it comes up and you let them know that you enjoy the show, that really helps us out. Or if you're on the interwebs, a Facebook group, a Discord server, or a Reddit group, something similar to that, and you give us a shout out, it really does help the show grow.
Yep.
So if you're now concerned that they're going to put Snoop Dogg in cryo storage until the next Olympics, please don't be worried about that. And instead, just focus on the fact that Catherine and I are
an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.